most obvious position, and never try to search for a driver's license, or put your hands in your pockets. If you make these moves, the police may immediately shoot you, but the driver is not panicked because he is holding a police badge in his hand. But the patrolman faced a detective, a few ranks older, and he still had his gun pointed at him, and he said it was you I stopped. It turned out he had just received an anonymous 911 call reporting drugs in the trunk of the car. Although Reagan complained that the patrolman was unreasonable, but as a detective Reagan, or very cooperative, opened the trunk. But when the trunk was opened, it looked like a suitcase of groceries. But what was in the back of the box surprised both men. Reagan instantly understood that he had been framed. Into the police station, the eyes of his colleagues all looked at him. Even the boss did not know what happened. After the boss has a general overview of the situation, he took Reagan's badge and gun from the police. Internal Affairs got involved in the investigation, but the person in charge, Mike, is Reagan's rival, and he asked Reagan a lot of questions, such as why Reagan owes more than 50,000 yuan on his credit card. Have been worrying about overtime recently. Is it because of lack of money? Mike suspects him that Reagan has evidence in the police's hands. So it doesn't matter what you know. Reagan wasn't reassured until his lawyer showed up. He was then confined to a restricted area, but just returned home to hug his wife. When I turned around, Mike was sitting at home waiting for him. Turns out Mike was just here to collect the gun, and the file says Reagan had a revolver in his house. But Reagan had his gun hidden in a very hidden combination box, and now it's gone. Reagan's first thought was that it was stolen by the person who set him up to hide it. Then, the colleagues did evidence all over the house, but they didn't find any clues. Reagan, to prove his innocence, began to recall the criminals caught before at home. Arrested was so high, it seemed that many people had a motive to get back at him. The police are analyzing the case at home. At this time, he suddenly found that someone outside the window is peeping. Now without a gun, can only temporarily use the bat for self-defense. But after chasing out, I realized that it was a neighbor walking his dog. He had heard that a burglar had been in Reagan's house, so he climbed through the window in a feat of curiosity. But unexpectedly, this man turned out to provide a very important clue. He said there was a police car parked outside Reagan's house the night he died. The kind of car Reagan used to drive home with no lights or signs. But he wasn't home that night, so it was a cop who set himself up. Reagan first suspected his partner, Xiaolan, because the two had been together for less than a month. This want to ask clear face to face, but suddenly see Mike and Xiaolan come together. Two people talk very happy, which cannot help but let Reagan on the identity of Lan doubts. He is then asked by Reagan to get into the car, because Xiaolan had previously transferred from Internal Affairs to the Criminal Squad. The Interior Ministry often sends undercover agents into the police force, ostensibly to expose and collect evidence to fight corruption. But also some people will take this opportunity to communicate personal hatred. But Xiaolan and no hatred, why would doubt themselves? Both suspect Mike at the same time. Reagan's murder. I was supposed to get a warrant the next day, and it happened the night before. There's a good chance Mike heard the news. There's usually a black book on a guy's hands, and maybe Mike has something to do with him. But Xiaolan with people door search, pick up the block has been killed, and it looks like he was recently silenced. So the killer was probably after the contents of the safe. But when the box was opened, no black ledger was found inside. Then Lan will invite Mike to the interrogation room, but the room waiting for him is Reagan. Lan then exits the room, and Reagan pulls out a black book. It turned out that this thing was not hidden in the safe. Xiaolan had found it in a hidden compartment under the floor. He recorded every penny, my false gambling, and it amounted to over $1 million. That's 20 times more than Reagan's $50. 000 overdraft. So it landed evidence. He stopped an investigation. He took care of it, and then he killed for the black book. He thinks he can handle a lot of trouble, because he's the head of Internal Affairs. Now that Mike has no excuses. He can only say, I want to see a lawyer. He'll probably spend the rest of his life in prison. After dealing with Mike's troubles, Xiaolan also received the transfer order. She wants to return to the Internal Affairs Department to take over the position of Captain Mike. I wonder if there's another cop, and yet just like my people, whether they are men or women, even pregnant women. And after the fight, these people every time arrogantly record the crime process and then upload it to social media. Within days, more than a dozen white people had been attacked by them for no apparent reason. Later, Reagan compared the photo of the suspect, and except for being a little dark and a little blurry, it was roughly this man. But when he came to arrest, there was almost an accident. Fortunately, Reagan blocked the back door with a police car in advance and saw the man very unconvinced and has been scolding Reagan, has been saying to find a lawyer. So Reagan opened the trunk of the car and shoved the man inside. So Reagan found an empty street, drove dangerously, and made his female partner feel carsick. The suspect in the trunk feels worse, but something happened again during the interrogation. Even though the man...
About now,
I think I heard Uncle.
I think you're right.
Under pressure from Reagan, confessed to several of the assaults in the video, but he won't admit to assaulting the pregnant woman. who was beaten to a miscarriage. He obviously had no reason to lie, and he has an alibi for the night of the accident. So who did it? Rakin then approached the victim's husband to find out what had happened. However, the man was only concerned about his wife and the child in his stomach, and he did not see the face of the suspect. Men are angry and frustrated because the process of getting their children is very difficult. Turns out he had to stick needles in his wife's stomach every day until the miracle happened 6 months ago. And now this. The man wanted to kill them himself, but now he doesn't even know who the suspect is. Suddenly, the wife offers a clue. She says she heard someone shout something before she was attacked. It's her turn, Jason. And this Jason guy Rakin actually knows. He's been in jail before for robbery and theft. But even more coincidentally, when Rakin found this Jason, he was already a corpse. Preliminary police assessment is that it may have been the result of a gang turf war. However, careful Rakin saw a familiar shoe print with paint at the crime scene. Rakin prayed that it wasn't him. Later, Rakin found the man again, and he deliberately called the man's wife, intending to talk to him in private. The man isn't too surprised when he hears that his wife's attacker is dead, which reinforces Rakin's conviction that the man is the killer, because the painted shoes he wore during the day were gone, too. Min can only say the truth, but just planned to speak, but was stopped by Rakin. He didn't know whether to arrest a man or not, and if it had happened to him, Rakin would have killed that man himself. He was torn right now, so Rakin made a bold decision. The next day, Rakin actually personally sent the man to the police station and made a record through the formal interrogation. The man admitted that he did find the person who hurt his wife, but he just wanted an answer. He didn't have a gun, the guy was dealing drugs, and then he threatened the gun, causing it to go off during a fight. Rakin's never been so gentle in an interrogation. When the prosecutor got this video of the interrogation, he saw the problem at a glance, and this confession was clearly taught by Rakin, and sure enough, the jury decided not to indict the man. The couple is even more grateful to Rakin, perhaps Rakin's actions against the code of being a police officers. But in the end, the bad guys get the punishment they deserve, and the good guys can live happily.